So then allow me the honor to kick off this virtual road safety conference. We are very glad to be here this morning together with Serco, our host of today. Big thank you goes to Serco and the team of Serco to set everything up today. And as I mentioned, it's the first time that we are looking at this format in a virtual way. We have been running this event jointly with Serco for 4 years. This is the 5th year. And you do see some shots of the last 4 years. Of course, in the last 4 years, we have been very blessed to have had the opportunity to have in-person meetings, in-person conferences with a very interesting lineup of speakers every year. We had great attendance numbers exceeding far more than 100 people for every year. And again, I mean, looking at the unfortunate circumstances that we're facing this year, we are here today in a virtual manner. Now, Serco is one of our very committed CSR partners, corporate social responsibility partners. And you might think it's very easy to do good, to do CSR, to give back to the community in good times. But now we're facing tough times. And Serco is a flag bearer of those companies who still invest into the public, who still want to give back to the society, who still are running CSR initiatives. And we're very grateful to that. We are very grateful to Serco, and we're equally grateful to all the other partners of Road Safety UAE who do support the event today. We will be hearing a little bit later from Nur Takaful, of course, also from TomTom, STS, the biggest private school bus operator, and last but not least at all, Dubai Police. A very big thank you goes to all of you, and especially to Dubai Police, to Captain Salem, who has been supporting us at the event for all those years. A very big thank you. Now, you all know Road Safety UAE quite well. I think I want to really hand over now to Laura, that she talks a little bit about housekeeping rules to us, explains the flow of today. And without further ado, I wanted to say a last big thank you to all the participants, also to take time out of their busy days to join us today. Once again to Serco and all the other presenters. And I'm looking forward to a very exciting morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Thomas. And morning to everybody. Thank you very much for joining us in what Thomas says. I just want to say thank you all very much for joining us in our annual road safety awareness event. It is unfortunate that we can't perhaps get together in person as we have in previous years, but we didn't want to let the year go by without acknowledging road safety. And so we did make the decision to proceed in this virtual world. And so we are going to attempt to deliver something via Teams. So thank you all for your patience. If we do have a few issues, hopefully we will be able to at least make the most of the hour. My job was to walk through how to manage the team. So we were going to ask, if possible, keep your cameras on. It is good to see faces and get some feedback for the presenters. So if you feel comfortable to, it would be great to have your cameras on. But please do try to have the sound muted, just to sort of relieve any background noise to allow the presenters to speak as best they can. If you do have a question for the presenters, and they're always keen to take your questions, it's best to either use the raise your hand function, which is available in Teams, or place your question in the chat function, which will be monitored by me and the team, and we will pick up those questions and present them to the presenters on your behalf. We don't have a huge amount of time because we are virtual this year. We felt that it would be better to sort of keep it as slightly shorter presentations, but allow you to make contact directly with the presenters after that. So if we don't have time to cover everybody's questions, we will be sharing the information and the contact details. Definitely encourage you to reach out and speak to any of the presenters if you want some more information about today's topics. That's the housekeeping. I hope we're still doing okay. We've got lots of people online, and so I'm going to hand over to our CEO at Serco, Phil Malam, to open up this year's event.
Thank you. Is there any chance of seeing anybody on the screen? Otherwise, I am literally just talking to a speaker. Good morning, everybody, wherever you are. Thanks for taking the time on this Sunday morning to join us. Welcome to the 5th Road Safety Day. Thanks, Thomas, for the support from Road Safety UAE. Greatly appreciate the work we do together. Thanks to the Dubai Police. Thanks, Captain, for joining us again today. One, in terms of supporting the event, but also we're looking forward to hearing the insights over the last 12 months and things. But also I wanted to take the opportunity on behalf of myself, the company, and I'm sure that the people on this conference to thank the Dubai Police for everything you've done this year. It's been an incredibly difficult year for globally, and I think all of the people who get up in the morning, go to work on frontline services, particularly the police and people in the healthcare sector, I think deserve a huge round of applause and our thanks. So thank you for the work you've done this year, and to all your colleagues as well. Thanks to the partners who've joined us as well. I think it's important we get more and more people involved. Thanks to Tom, to Noor, Takaful and STS. Appreciate your support working together. For anybody who doesn't know who Serco are, I'm just going to do a 30 seconds so you can count me sales pitch and how good a company we are. Just start counting. But Serco is a services company. Seriously, we're a public services company, and we provide services to millions of people, isn't it, globally around the world. In Dubai, whether that means serving the public on running the Dubai Metro, or whether that's helping people who are visiting, not so many now, obviously, at the moment, are travelling through Dubai Airport. So whether it's with the air traffic control, which we operate with Dubai Air Navigation Services, the hospitals that we help and have helped keep open. Really proud this year to have helped run the World Trade Center Field Hospital for coronavirus patients earlier in the year, or whether it's keeping the defence and military bases going, or the universities who are coming back with the schools, and hopefully my son's nursery, hopefully soon, getting the universities and colleges and things going as well as some of the property development work. It has been a challenging year for everybody, and we appreciate everything that we've been doing on the front line. Road safety to Serco is hugely important. I think we've been involved in this from the start, regardless of who's sat and done this presentation. From our perspective at the start, it's important to us as a company. I think certainly the 2020 focus very much around sort of transportation of the staff. A lot of staff going in and out of accommodation into workplaces for us has been a big issue, and I'm sure Laura will touch upon that later. But certainly COVID's been a challenge. I'm sure it's been a challenge for lots of you on this call too. Obviously trying to follow government guidance. We've tried to deliver best practice as best as we could. It's limited staff on the buses, obviously, with regards to the guidance, temperature checks, all of the PPP requirements which are expected, and hand sanitisation, etc., etc. And it's really important, if you look at where we are with COVID globally, it's more important today than it's ever been. And we know that here in Dubai, and we're doing everything we possibly can to support the government and our fellow citizens to try and get ourselves out of this awful pandemic. Certainly, our response to road safety changes are a lot around lessons learned over the last few years, but we think we want to do more. And the challenge I would set to us all, and I can only set my own business and enforce it within my own business, but the challenge that I'd set us all is what can we do as individuals, and then the companies in which we that we look after to improve, and we're looking to step up in 2021 on the road safety side for Serco. We're going to put an accelerator in place in terms of trying to learn lessons and trying to try and improve. I love the quote around, be the change you wish to see in the world. We can only change what we decide to do as individuals, and we're going to try and put that safety campaign, safety message across our business, and I would hope you would support us in other companies doing that to improve road safety in Dubai. A bit like the Dubai Future Foundation, which I love, the 10x vision. We're going to try and give ourselves the challenge of saying, can we improve 10 times? Now, how we define that obviously is going to be important, but it is very important to us. So just final remarks. 2020 has been a huge challenge in many different ways. We're getting through it. It's a challenge for us all. Our aim is to learn from 2020, certainly on the road safety side for this event. Live by our people values, do the right thing, and hopefully with our road safety accelerator, push on for even greater improvements in 2021. So I'll hand back to you, Laura.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Great. So we're almost sort of back on time, despite a bit of a shaky start. So the first presenter that we have, that we're very grateful to have with us, is Jonathan from TomTom, who's going to talk to us a little bit around the traffic patterns before, during, and after lockdown.
Thank you, Laura. Thanks. Let me share my screen, and then we jump right into it. So while is it still upcoming the screen, I would like to thank Serco Friends, Thomas from Road Safety UAE. Thanks for the opportunity. Very glad to be here talking to you guys. Can you see my screen? It's all good?
Yes.
Yeah, but you might want to go into present mode.
Let's do that. Perfect. So thank you. I think I have 10 minutes. I'm going to be very careful with time. I don't want to go over it. So what I'm going to do, I also have a timer here. So let's do it. So I was invited to talk about the TomTom Traffic Index and how we were using this data in this pandemic situation, in this COVID-19 situation, which caught us all by surprise. So everything that we have was a kind of a reaction. Nobody was expecting this, of course. So we reacted fast and we could do something about it as well. So to talk about the traffic index, there's no way to run from it. The first thing I have to do is to talk about the TomTom data itself. Where do we get it? Where it comes from? So TomTom, you remember in the past about the GPS device, but nowadays the company completely shifted to a service company. It's a full B2B service location technology company. And what we do is we track a lot. We have a lot of tracking GPS location data, and they are coming from nowadays mainly coming from our mobile customers and our automotive customers and partners. And today we're talking about more than 600 million connected devices. So we track all this data, and we gather this data, and then we start creating location products, historical, analytical, statistic products, but also real-time products. So just to give you a little bit of an idea of what is this 600 million connected devices that we track, we're talking about more than 3.5 billion kilometers driven every day, if you sum up all the data, which means more than 700 million driving hours. And because we've been archiving this data for such a long time, today we're counting with more than 48 trillion GPS points, GPS probe points. And that's what we use to create our products. In this slide, I just give you in one glance a very short, brief information of all the products that we have. Of course, that the main one is the live traffic in 79 countries, But of course, we're also talking about on-street and off-street parking. We're also talking about traffic, weather-related services, fuel prices, and also nowadays, very important, getting a lot of traction, EV, electric vehicle charging points and availability. So this is all the connected products that come from that data that we were talking in the beginning. Moving specifically to our topic of today, so this same data that we use to create those commercial products, we also use to create one campaign that we do every year. So once a year around February, we launch the traffic index. The traffic index, it's really what the name says. So we create a rank of cities from the most congested to the least congested cities. It's a campaign where we show the world like, hey, check out how you're doing, how your city is doing compared to last year. See if you got better, see if you improved. So this year, every year increases a little bit. We add more and more cities. This year we were talking about 416 cities, and in 57 different countries. And it's a ranking, and it looks a little bit like this. We put it on ranking from the worst congestion city of the year before, because it's an index, so you can compare year after year. And then we make a rank, like, hey, this was the worst one. And then if you scroll down to the 400 cities, you will see what are the best, least congested cities in the world. So it gives you a nice parameter. And every year we do that. And apart from the ranking, we give you, if you can go to the city page, every city has its own page, and you can see some really cool statistics. We make it very, very easy to read. It's not a lot of data, it's not a lot of crunching. It's really something that you can relate to. Every year we do this. So what happened this year was very interesting, because around January, February, we always keep the visits of the website. We track everything. We see how the visitor is behavior, where the visit is clicking. So around March, we could see that the page was having a very, very interesting behavior. We were seeing that the great majority of visits, and then we were talking about Beijing only 34%, Shanghai 20%. So more than half of the visits were coming from China. And then we were like, yeah, but why it's happening like this? And then of course, after they started visiting, the cities also started contacting us for a more detailed conversation. And they told us that they were using the traffic index as an indicator, or to make an analogy, a comparison, research of how efficient the quarantine was, in their countries, in their cities. So that's how it triggered for us this use case. So we started from very, very spontaneous. They started using the data to analyze the quarantine, if people were moving or not. So this was the first contact. After that, what happened was the whole world started reaching out to us. And you would see around the media, road safety, UAE as well, with Thomas also had an article about it. Different media, different online and offline, TV, radio, newspapers, they came to us, they started using the data. We made a special free offer for COVID-19 related cases for media purposes to inform the public. And it was, apart from all the problems that we are all experiencing, this gave to us a different use case for the data. So today we have more than 1,500 articles published by media and by different channels. And just to show you a little bit, in our case here for our webinar, I would like to use the last time of the presentation to show you specific cases in the Middle East. So is starting with Dubai. So this is I took this is screenshots last week. So Thursday, 24th, no, 2 weeks ago maybe. And here you see the local time as well of when this was taken. And just to go through the charts very quickly, what you see, the red line is the live congestion, so the congestion now or the congestion when this screenshot was taken. And the blue dotted line, it's the congestion of last year for the same day. So we're comparing today with the same day last year. And you see that even now, September, end of September, the congestion levels are lower compared to last year for Dubai. We also have other visualizations. For example, in red, you see the days that had heavy congestion, and here in gray was the lockdown, the more severe lockdown. It may vary a little bit, maybe 1 week, 2 weeks, but you will see that during the lockdown, it went to no congestion at all. And even today, you will see that the days are not yet fully congested. But we have to keep in mind that this is for Dubai, and the topic of this speech of the TomTom talk was before, during, and after. So just for a comparison, let's compare to a city in Europe, and then you will see Dubai compared to Berlin, and you will see that Berlin has very congested days before the quarantine. During the lockdown period, which is the gray weeks, here you see the week numbers, it went down the congestion, but now, if you check now, Berlin's already back to congested levels of last year, already fully recovered. And at the same time, Dubai is still seeing less congestions. If I show you Abu Dhabi, is still less congestions than last year, the red line compared to the blue line. And again, this is a different visualization. We are showing the difference from last year. So blue means way less congestion than last year, and red means more congestion than last year. So you will see that during the lockdown period, it was way less, and until today continues to be way less compared to last year. Again, we're going to do the same exercise. If I compare to London, you will see that the blue dots, where we have less congestions than compared to last year, happened very well during the quarantine. But right now you see that it's going back to normal. It's not as heavy as Berlin, but it's going back to normal. And you can visit the website. I put the QR code here to everybody that can visit the website. You can check your own city. Here I'm giving some examples. So Cairo is still very low. Riyadh, different situation. On that specific Wednesday, 23rd, I don't know why, probably you guys know, but it was way more than last year. So just to give you some examples, that the conclusion is it really depends on the city. Dubai and Abu Dhabi, for example, see less congestion until today, while Berlin and Paris and London, it's coming back. So it really depends. I invite you guys to go to the traffic index. It's here in the QR code. And I also would like to visit, to invite you to see some of our customers and partners that use the data. This is the Deloitte. They created a COVID-19 dashboard. You can also use the QR code here. And to finalize, I think this is my last slide, Laura. I would like you to also invite you to check our analytics platform, our analytics dashboard. It's called TomTom Move. There you can create your own analysis. Traffic Index is a website that it's ready to be used, ready to be read and used. TomTom Move, you create yourself. You define the area, you define the time, and you curate yourself, and it's free for evaluation. So if you go to this website, move.tomtom.com/register, or simply use the QR code, you can start using the TomTom Analytics, Statistics Dashboard, TomTom Move, right away. With that, I finish. We can always get in touch to me and we go deeper in the discussion. And but that's what I would like to talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you. And really appreciate the timing because it was absolutely perfect. We just had the one question raised in the chat there, which was somebody that was asking around sort of a bit more information around our local cities, which obviously you covered later in the presentation. So thank you for picking that up. No one else has posted anything yet, but you know, we do encourage you to do so. If you think about a question later that you'd like to pose to Jonathan, still put it in the chat and we'll make sure that that is all passed to Jonathan. And we will also circulate his materials with those really useful QR codes to allow people to think about that a little bit more. Really interesting presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
Have you got time for a question?
Of course, yeah.
I thought it was really good, Jonathan. Thank you. Really interested. I mean, there's a couple of things. Whether you're sort of sharing this data or whether you're working with sort of RTA, as an example in the UAE, it would be an interesting one for me. Probably talk about separately, but it's an interesting one when you mentioned Berlin. So you say that the congestion's back up to where it was pre the beginning of the pandemic. Which sort of suggests people are going back to work, on which I didn't realise there was no similar sort of working from home type of. Or would the congestion be caused by, I don't know, less people being able to share cars, or what do you think the reason for that is?
At least here in Europe, and I see this in Amsterdam, my base town, is that as the numbers went down, we went through the peak. A lot of cities is starting to flexibilize a lot. The rules became much more flexible. Also, the summer started, and I think in everywhere in the world was that discussion between lockdown versus economy. We need to keep up with the economy. The summer came, the numbers were going down, so it was really, really flexible because it was kind of let's use the summer moment to sell more, to do our business, hotel, bars, cafes. So everybody went out to the streets. TomTom office also was flexible. You could reserve a table the day before. So I was going like 3 days a week as well. And now the numbers went up really, really high. The second phase is really here. More cases than back then in April. And now we locked down again. So I think it was conscious decisions to make flexible because economy lockdown balance in the summer was a good moment to make some money. And now we see that we have to lock down again. So I think that was the main case.
Do you think it was because more people are driving rather than using public transport? So there's probably less people going to work, but they're driving instead of getting on a metro or a train.
Exactly. I'm afraid to go in a metro. I use my mask, but I'm still afraid. I'd rather get my car. It's safer, and that for sure. So that's one thing that we need to take into consideration. Everybody's considering that the congestion level will be less, but we don't know yet. It really depends on the city. It's a city by city case. And also, for example, the public transportation situation. In Amsterdam, because of the bike life, everybody goes by bike, so that is not really the case. But I can see that London, Paris, São Paulo, and Brazil, cities that are very dependent on metro and public, this might happen for sure.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Jonathan.
Thank you. We have got a few more questions there, which I will pass on to Jonathan either at the end if we have time, or ask him to pick those up with some of the attendees there. Because I want to hand over now to Captain Saleem from Dubai Police, who will share with us a little bit around the impact of COVID-19 here in Dubai. So over to you, Captain. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Laura. Thanks. I would like to welcome everyone. Thanks, Circle, for this event, Road Safety, Thomas, TomTom, SDS, and Noor Takaful. All of us went through this period of COVID-19, which has been like an obstacle for every city, and it affected every city dramatically. So I would like to start because I've worked on the roads during the curfew. Some people call it lockdown. Some people call it curfew. I call it curfew because we never had a lockdown in Dubai City. So, and the periods was we started with 6 a.m. till 8 p.m. and then went up till 10 p.m. and then it was normal again. Still, people are scared to go out. You know, I've known friends with families and children They don't go out as much. They spend their time in their homes, and they just try and avoid going out because everyone's scared from this virus. During the lockdown, as we know, Dubai City is very, is very vibrant, and everyone works hard. And we have, like, most of the people who work in Dubai, let's say 80% of them, for example, I'm just giving a rough number, are foreigners who come from different countries around the world. So most of them are single. So during the curfew, the traffic went down. Private cars, all kinds of vehicles, the traffic went down. But the problem that we faced was deliveries, because everyone was single. And even if I stayed at home during the curfew, let's say, for example, I'll cook the first day, the second day, and then I'll get bored of my own cooking. So I'll order out. So that's why we had a problem with that. The number of vehicle accidents during the curfew almost went to zero. But the problem was with delivery guys, and I know it's their business, it's the way of making money, but always, like I've always said, and Thomas knows that, when money comes into the equation, safety is put aside. But now we've seen accidents. It's only 12 fatalities, but still, that's a big number during the curfew. 12 people died because they were speeding or they were breaking the law, and even the roads were like empty. During the curfew, I was working on the roads. I saw Dubai and I felt sorry for myself. I felt sorry for my city. It was completely empty. So there is no excuse for them having an accident, because the roads were just out there for them, the delivery guys, during the curfew. So it's sad to know that 12 people passed during that time, because the roads were empty and there's no obstacles in front of them. But the problem was maintaining, the time for them to deliver. And they had to deliver, and the orders, I'm sure that the orders came in like 24/7. And the pressure on the companies, the delivery companies, was so huge, they couldn't handle them. So they were pushing their drivers to make more deliveries. Doing that, it caused the 12 fatalities. And there's another issue I would like to talk about regarding the delivery guys, is the package or the box, the delivery box on the back of the vehicle. Some of them are huge. They can't even look. They can't see even traffic coming from behind them using the side mirrors. And some of them, that I can handle. But the other issue is they have a package which is like a backpack, and it's strapped on their shoulders, and they ride with that. And if the weight within that box that is strapped on their shoulders moves or shifts, then they lose control of the bike. I ride bikes myself. I know how it works. Because if you shift and there's the weight, and then if it shifts to the left, then they'll lean to the left, and that will cause an accident. And most of the accidents during the curfew were involved with sliding. Vehicle or the motorcycle goes sideways and then slides and hits, let's say, a wall or a barrier, and that's how most of the deaths occurred. I would like to see you guys again, Thomas, everyone, in person, but during the COVID time, we had to go virtual. And if you've got any questions for me, I'm more than happy to answer them. And thank you very much. Thanks, Laura.
Thank you, Captain Salim. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's really interesting. And yeah, sorry to the loss of those drivers. Tragic.
Yeah, it is. It is very tragic, because they had no excuse. you know, to have an accident. The roads were empty, but it's maintaining the vehicles and pushing the drivers to their limits that cause that. Yeah.
And the load as well, that overloading.
Yes.
Even they've got like large
The loads
deliveries.
and the backpack thing is, and as soon as shifts, you know, the vehicle, they lose control of the vehicle.
Is there a weight limit for the bike? I mean, do they have to be trained specifically different than just a normal motorcycle?
Now,
Like-
RTA combined with Dubai Police,
Right.
they've got a new project, which is if you own a motorcycle, a private motorcycle, you get a normal license.
Right.
But if you're a delivery motorcycle employee, there's a special license.
Right.
So they're working on that and they're making studies, and as soon as it gets approved, then we'll see the numbers
It's the
going
weight
down.
thing, surely it's the weight you need to answer.
It is. If the weight is, if the vehicle has overweight, even with big trucks, it's the same thing. And you have to distribute the weight properly. Otherwise, if it shifts from one side to another, it'll cause an accident.
Yeah, Ahmed had actually posted a question here, which was that delivery bikes are becoming traffic accident hazards, and was there any action from Dubai Police? But I think you've just answered that you're looking at the way in which you license those types of individuals, where we know that they're, because of the nature of their job, they're on the roads for long hours.
Yes, and it's not yet approved, but there's a big study involving Dubai Police and RTA, and hopefully we'll reach that point where they have their own license as delivery drivers.
James has made a comment there as well, just around the speed that some of those delivery drivers travel at as well. That, you know, obviously speed has got to be an issue in there.
Speed, we can't monitor everyone, but there is speed cameras, and they should know better because they're more vulnerable than people in vehicles like a car or a bus. If you're on a bike, you have to be cautious all the time. Look left and right, you know, and drive safe.
Okay, this is Thomas. Just a quick comment also from my side from Road Safety UAE. So basically, Captain Salem touched on this task force. We have been in this task force with RTA for many months now. And so have been some of our CSR partners, like for example, Mixed Telematics. They are also in this task force because there is a strong belief around the table that technology can also play a vital role in addressing the behavior of motorcycle riders, in addition to the licensing. Of course, it goes without saying, if you want to drive a bus, if you want to drive one of Steve's school buses, if you want to drive a truck, you have to have a special license as a commercial driver. And we are pushing for the same also for motorcycle delivery riders, because they are commercial riders, commercial drivers, so to say. So insofar, this must be reflected not only in the proper driving license, but also maybe the relicensing. Maybe you have to reapply based on your driving, and it's about looking at it more from a commercial angle. In addition to that, as I mentioned, the element of technology can play a very, very important role. And last but not least, it's about this teaming up in task forces, so sitting around the table, having everybody around the table, and everybody is invited to raise his or her voice. Coincidentally, today in Golf News, there is an article that we worked on with Golf News, especially about this topic. I will just paste the URL from our friends of Golf News in the chat box right now. And if you're interested, please have a look. It's a very comprehensive article from our friend Angel, who is working for Golf News. And just if anyone is interested, please have a look.
Very good.
Thank you, Thomas. So we'll move on. We're running a few minutes behind, so we don't want to take any more time from the next presenters. So we have Noor Tapaful and Sudharsan, I believe. Yes. Well, sorry, before we do that, we'll just thank Captain Flint in case you get a call and you need to go. So we just wanted to thank you very much for your continued support. And we just have a certificate of appreciation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, Sudharsan, thank you. You're there. We've got your presentation. Maybe just go into presentation mode if you can, and then I think we're good to go.
Is it coming to the presentation mode? Just 1 second. Okay. Hope everybody can see this.
Perfect. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Sudarshan Narasimhan. I'm the Chief Underwriting Officer of Noor Takaful. Noor Takaful is, and we trade under an ethical insurance tagline, means and on the Islamic principles, we need to give back to the policyholders, and we strive to do that. And today, wanted to talk about what kind of CSR initiatives that we did, and we are also doing during the tough times posed by COVID-19. What did we do? We launched a COVID-19 support program for all our frontline heroes, and we offered discounts on our motor takaful products and also on the group family covers, which is life insurance. We extended the cover for COVID-19, and we have a range of comprehensive educational campaigns launched through our websites and all the social media platforms that Noor Takaful is. What did we do for the frontline heroes? Is Al Zahra Hospital, we took as a pilot, and they are one of our biggest customers, and they have ambulances and medical equipment fleet. We offered the motor takaful, the motor insurance product, free of cost to Al Zahra Hospital's fleet. And also for, we devised an exclusive life insurance product for all the frontline heroes engaged in the battle against COVID-19. And this product covers death by any cause protection, including COVID-19 cover. Normally, prior to COVID-19, as a pandemic set in, insurances did not cover this particular cause. And then we included this and covered all the frontline heroes. And in terms of reduction in motor takaful pricing, apart from Al Zahra Hospital, we wanted to offer discounted pricing to all our customers, not only during the National Sterilization Program, we extended it throughout the year. And who were these customers? These were customers who were engaged in the medical sector, armed forces and the police, then also members of the civil defense, people of determination, the elderly above 60 years of old, and individual applicants with accident claim-free record. So any customers falling in the bucket, they were eligible for discounted pricing on the motor insurance. And also we partnered with CAFU. CAFU is a fuel delivery service where customers of Noor Takaful or customers of CAFU were eligible for discounted insurance product. Not only that, they were also having discounted fuel vouchers from CAFU, so that they don't need to come out of the house. We did see people were apprehensive to come out of the house, so that way CAFU partnered with us so that they could deliver fuel to their home. This was part of our initiative to give back to the society during these challenging times. And COVID-19 cover for individual family takaful participants. This is on the life insurance side of our company. We had done an upgrade to the existing life insurance plans that provide customer with COVID-19 coverage. Then on the medical insurance side, because when customers were very reluctant or very apprehensive to come out of their house, we offered telehealth service in collaboration with our third-party providers. And last but not the least, we also are offering our clients and our employees special prices for COVID-19 screening in collaboration with Tumbai Hospital. This way we felt that we could give back from an insurance perspective the maximum to the society. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was really interesting, and some great work there going on, obviously, at Noor Takaful, sort of supporting people during these very challenging times that we've had this year. Does anyone have any questions?
I was just interested in the telehealth and how that works and who the provider is. So if that's possible.
Sorry, yeah, the line was not clear. If you can repeat the question, please.
Yeah, I was just saying, is there any more information about who's your telehealth provider and how does that work? Because that's an interesting dynamic that's changed over the last few months, isn't it?
Yeah, we have quite a few providers, and basically what we do is once you contact us through noortakaful.com, depending on the plan, we have got tie-ups with various providers, and we just nominate one of these providers to help you with the assistance services that is required.
Right.
Great. So on to Steve. Steve, despite what we thought, you still have a full 9 minutes, which is actually better than we imagined you may get at the end. And I know that you can definitely talk for 9 minutes. So we're looking forward to hearing from STS. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you very much. Good morning to everybody. And I'm really pleased to be able to, this will be my 4th attendance at the Serco Road Safety Programme. And I'm very privileged as a company that we are part of the Road Safety UAE family. I'm not going to spend too much time. I really want to get to the safety elements around the investment that we've made, particularly around IVMS. But I just wanted to give a slight overview with regards to STS. We're always referred to as School Transport Services, but I'm sure many of you know we have other business interests, Securitech, where we provide infrared cameras, CCTV, time and attendance, etc. systems. That helps us to support the fleet of vehicles that we currently have, that not only support the private school sector, but also the corporate sector as well. And that's been quite a busy period for us over the last 6 months, particularly with the social distancing. There's just some key metrics there around the fleet size, number of schools, number of students. Obviously, that number today is slightly different. Well, it's very different. We're usually carrying between 80 to 85,000 students a day, but because of the distant learning, at the moment where we are in the first week of October, we're only carrying around 12% of that number, but we still require around 50% of our assets, so our vehicles and drivers, to ensure that we can get students to school in a safe and timely manner. So there's a significant amount of investment still required. And even though we are a private operating company, I think it's important that we understand that this is a business that's very, very easy to turn off. It's incredibly difficult to turn back on again. So we need to maintain that state of readiness as we move through the next few weeks. And certainly as confidence comes back into the education market, and parents then decide that actually physical attendance at school is going to be better for them for all of the interaction requirements that they need. You know, so very swiftly after lockdown, you know, our business faced a pretty extraordinary dive. The word unprecedented has been used very frequently, but I don't think there's another way to describe the challenges that COVID-19 has presented. School bus transport is critical to the health and well-being of citizens in the UAE. Not only is it a requirement by many parents, but it's the only way to safely have access to school for children. But it's also a fundamental part of the UAE's 2030 vision on sustainability, decarbonisation, road traffic accident and congestion reduction. I mentioned that we provide transport into the private sector as well and corporate. And we've been very busy with that. We recently were awarded to be the preferred transport provider for the Indian Premier League. And many of you may have seen the coaches in full livery traveling around in Dubai, certainly around Sports City. And some of our drivers are obviously extremely excited because they're staying in the safety bubble with the teams and living at the Royal Mirage the one and only hotel. So it's fantastic for employees, it's fantastic for our brand as well. And we see this as a significant growth area, not necessarily in the IPL, but certainly working with like-minded clients that want great value, that want safety-driven buses or coaches to move their employees from one point to another. Now, the impact of social distancing has had an impact on all companies. I'm sure Serco and many other companies have had the same, where they're moving their employees around. Certainly with the 50% social distancing. But the key phrase that I'd like to use here is social distancing without social exclusion. So from our point of view, our challenge at the moment is not only surviving the financial or potential financial fallout from the pandemic, but also repositioning public transport and in particular school transportation as an essential part of a safe and green recovery from COVID-19. As we know, mass passenger transport is vital to the UAE. The network of services support those who would otherwise be disadvantaged. They don't own cars, or the network for them of using cycles just isn't right, or they wouldn't even consider a car as a suitable form of transport. So with the capacity restrictions that are currently in place, and I'm sure that affects the metro, the public bus network, it certainly does taxis and private businesses that rely on moving their employees around safely, it's going to have an impact for some time. So not every person can be catered for at the moment, and this mainly impacts those who can't afford other modes. And I think after all, the vast majority of us are here to earn a living, and this is compounded at the moment by the lack of availability. So just moving into our programme over the last 6 months, certainly around school transportation, we're quite fortunate in that we already have a lot of good IVMS, smart bus systems in place. And one of those would be the RFID cards that we use. We use them in the corporate sector as well. That has actually proven to be extremely useful, particularly around track and trace. So we know who boarded a vehicle, what time they boarded a vehicle, who they were with, and then combined with our CCTV systems as well, we're able to be very robust in then tracking and tracing anybody that may have been impacted by somebody that could have caught COVID. We've worked very, very strongly with the authorities, and an example there, within the last 6 months, there was a protocol requirement for NCITs, which are non-contact infrared thermometers, to be used on our buses to check every student prior to them boarding. We did a proof of concept of a range of equipment from 65 dirhams, these very easy handheld NCITs that you see in most bars or restaurants, right the way through to very, very intelligent systems. And we found that the ambient temperature outside of a vehicle affects the reading. So therefore, you weren't getting an accurate reading of the student's body temperature before boarding. So we wrote to KHDA, we wrote to ADEC and SPEAR and advised them of this. And then consequently, the protocol was changed in that the temperature checking could be done on board the vehicle before the student sits down. So aside from all of the well-care programs that we've had in place for employees, there's been a lot of anxiety out there. It's been very emotional for many, certainly with the uncertainty as to, will I have a job going forward? We knew at some point that schools would come back online, which is the position we're in today. And I'm hoping with the assurances that we're putting out there for parents, for the school authorities, for the schools themselves, that the ridership levels will come back to a point where we can then start reducing the amount of traffic on roads. Because if you saw the TomTom data earlier, there are peaks, and those peaks impact us as well. Schools are not designed to have the number of cars attending them without using school transportation. The infrastructure isn't right, and the more, and the RTA and certainly the DOT in Abu Dhabi, the more students that we can get into school buses, at the point where they start using doing physical attendance, is of a benefit to the cities because it does reduce congestion. This is some of the media work that we did for parents. We got off the blocks very quickly. We went in the press, we were on the news, on the radio, talking about all of the precautionary measures that we had put in place as a business, and other operators have as well. So that's all around making sure that the vehicle becomes a safety bridge between school and home. And if you think about it, you've got a vehicle that's got the same employees with the same students going from home to school and back. The bus doesn't do anything else during the day. It's not picking up other people. The vehicle is sanitized after every trip. We take temperature readings of our employees. They've all had PCR tests as well and regularly continue to do so. We have our IVMS systems on the vehicle that protect not only the bus users, but also the driver and the environment around them and the citizens. And we can then provide track and tracing should there be an incident on a positive COVID test. I mentioned around some of our investment. So even the difficult period that we've had over the last 6 months, we don't stand still in continuing to look at what is out there in the market that can protect our assets, our drivers, our passengers, both from the private sector and also schools, but more importantly, other road users as well. So combined with, there are 2 areas that we've invested in. One has now been 100% completed, which is our driver facial recognition system. That combined with a framework of working hours. You know, we don't sweat our assets. Our drivers work reasonable hours, but we need to ensure that we can then further protect them. When we first introduced this system, it was seen as a bit of a big brother. But with good communication to our employees, it's actually there to exonerate them at times. So our facial recognition system monitors the driver's face throughout the journey. It's recorded on the DVRs that we have on the vehicle when it's held for 90 days. So it allows us to warn them at the point of where they're yawning too much or there's any head movements or drooping. It also allows us to monitor excessive blinking. Again, that is an indication of fatigue. If they're using a mobile phone or other oral intake, be that drinking whilst driving, as in tea or coffee, or smoking. Now, we audit 10% of our journeys every month, and there are occasions where our drivers haven't followed what they should have done, and we have certainly a zero tolerance when it comes to using a mobile phone while driving. We have a very robust retraining program, and then ultimately there will be disciplinary measures in place for those that may abuse the system. We see that as a fundamental protection measure with regards to certainly driving students on the road, but it also gives the drivers some form of support when there is an accident involved, because we do have accusations that the driver wasn't paying attention on the road or he was using a mobile phone. So based on the time management programs that we have, we can then check to see. The drivers are warned in the cab by a short beep, but it also ports into our operational control center, so we can do post analysis of any accusations or any incidents that may occur, and it's very, very useful for our training programs as well. The second part, and I've spoken to Captain Salam about this previously, is we're still going through a proof of concept on advanced driver assistance system, which is essentially a dash cam that is fixed to the front of the vehicle that monitors the driver's habits, but also everything within close proximity around him. Things like lane departure warning systems, front collision warning, pedestrian detection and distance monitoring. I think we'll get to a point where we have a lot of big data that actually shows the driving habits of other road users, not our own drivers, but other road users on the road. And it's invaluable information, certainly the images that are captured through this when there is a road accident. Now, the majority of accidents that we face are from third-party users driving into the side or the back of a bus, which is pretty difficult to understand most times because these are big yellow buses. So just to follow on and just close on a point that has come up with regards to with Jonathan's point, but also Gulf Traffic, when we had Martin Tillman from ACOM on 2 weeks ago. I've noticed myself, I'm very observant of other road users and how they drive. And certainly with emptier roads, I've noticed that speed has increased. I know Captain Salam has mentioned that there are cameras on the majority of main roads, but obviously in residential areas there are less. So I think there's a style that, and Martin agreed with this, as the roads are emptier, people tend to believe that they can just drive. It's an easier drive, so therefore speed becomes an issue, but also poor driving habits. I'm actually quite appalled at the amount of people that I see driving using their mobile phone in their hand, and most vehicles nowadays have Bluetooth systems in them. And I don't know if that is just because roads are emptier or if it's just bad habits coming back in because of the fact that the roads are emptier and therefore people can take advantage of that. So that's me done. I hope I fit it in with the 9 minutes, but thank you very much again.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks very much. Really interesting. I'm aware that we have run slightly over, we're about 8 minutes over, and I appreciate that people are still on. I know that everyone has a very busy schedule and it is a Sunday morning. So rather than hold up anyone's time further, as I said at the start, what we will do is we will share all the presentations which our presenters have very kindly shared this morning. We'll make sure that those come out to you. A lot of them have sort of links to either the websites or Jonathan has some QR codes in there, so it gives you a little bit more opportunity to find out a little bit more about what the presenters have discussed today, and then we will also share their contact details, so I'm sure that they would encourage you to reach out to them directly if you have any further questions that you would like to discuss with them. But otherwise, I will close. We'll thank everybody, and we'll hope that next year we may be able to meet again in person somewhere. But until then, stay safe and thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.